right, so tonight is Monday, June 21st, 2021. The time is 6 p.m. And we are going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at this time. Ms. Garcia, may we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Tara Walter,
Present.
Vice Mayor Michelle Portis,
Present.
Councilmember John Anderson,
Present.
Councilmember Kristen Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilmember Judy Hughes,
Here.
Councilmember Arthur Neal. Mr. Neal did call in tonight and let us know that he was having some traveling issues on his way to Hawaii. So we did get that call. Councilmember Johnny Mendoza.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you so very much. We are going to begin with a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, please rise. Thank you. I pledge allegiance and to the republic for all. At this time, we will go ahead and open the call to the public. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak at this time? Ms. Garcia, I'm going to ask if you could please lead this part because I cannot see the public.
At this time, we have Kathy Adams, who has requested to speak at Call to the Public.
Thank you. Ms. Kathy Adams, go ahead.
Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Thank you for giving me this time. I'd like to speak on two items on the agenda tonight. The first one is 15B, the Florence Downtown Commercial Rehabilitation Program. First of all, I'm thrilled and I appreciate that this is being funded and it's a critical time for downtown. You can see a lot of activity and people who really need these funds. So thank you very much for that. I read through the documentation and the application, and I have some concerns about its feasibility and ability for the property owner to follow, just based on this, a logical process that makes sense for the property owner and of course fulfills the town requirements. There were numerous items that I saw where it could be improved upon and save time on the property owner's part and the town and end up with a superior experience for everybody. I don't think the facade program was executed as well as it could be. I don't think it was well received. And I think part of that was just because of the way it was written and the requirements put on the property owner. So I think there's some dialogue that could go on that could make this much better and result in a much more successful program. Because at the end of the day, we want all those funds to be expended as quickly as possible, right? So I would like to ask if this could be reconsidered and have a little more dialogue before a final decision is made. The second item is on the branding, which is the May 21st, 2021 meeting minute approval. And that was on the wayfinding sign and kiosk. And I know on the agenda tonight is 14B, the branding. It's a little confusing, and maybe Vice Mayor Cordes can help in this conversation. I'm part of the team working with the chamber on what we're calling the tourism branding and the logo. And then I see in the meeting minutes and on the branding, which of course hasn't taken place yet, examples where the logo would be used, say, on a signpost for a town event. Well, in my mind, when I was sitting on the chamber side, we thought the same thing. We thought our logo would be used on Main Street on the banners because it's tourism. So now I'm a little bit confused as to which logos are going where. So I'm hoping that gets clarified today. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anybody?
Right, and then, yeah, we have another one, sorry. The other one is Sam Pagliari. Sorry if I didn't say that right, sir.
Hello, Mayor,
Hi,
Vice
Mr.
Mayor.
Pagliari.
council members. My name is Sam Pagliari. I am the treasurer at Crossroads Lutheran Church. We last, I guess, September, bought a building on 130 Main Street, and we're in the process right now of revitalizing the building, trying to put a coffee shop in there. I think many of you have been there, have seen what we're trying to do. So I speak about our downtown commercial rehabilitation program. And I agree with the previous speaker. I think there's a lot of dialogue that needs to be taking place, before we really adopt something like this. First of all, I appreciate, the city and what they're trying to do and the money they're trying to put into the downtown community. We are a nonprofit. And as this is as written, we would we put about $20,000 into code improvements, into electrical and plumbing. And we would right now qualify for none of these funds. And the reason we would qualify for none of them is because there's a pre-authorization stipend or part of this proposal that would require a pre-approval. Now the approval is already done in my mind by the city planners. We enter we have to pull permits for everything we do. So that part of it is approved, but what isn't approved is whether that qualifies for this program. So because of the pre-approval, it doesn't take place until after July 1st. And since we've already put the money in, we wouldn't qualify for it. So if we would have known this was coming up, we would have just waited 6 months, you know what I mean? And done it that way. Because once again, most of our funds are based on donations, on grants, and we appreciate all of that. So, whatever money we can get back, we'll just put back into the, into the community and back into our property that we own there. There's a lot of things we still need to do, but we only have a limited budget to do it with. So I think there's a lot of things that we can take a look at in here and maybe approve or to improve and maybe look at, through the eyes of maybe what some other communities are doing. That pre-approval process. And that also goes for the facade grant, because I think the facade grant, we right now are putting a door in. So we had to go through the Historical Society to get the door approved. And thank God, we work with them and we try to help it out. But what happened is that, we want to get facade grant as well. So we have to get it approved through the Historical Society, which won't come up until the 30th. But then after that, we have to go to the facade grant to get another approval, for it. So, and we can't make any purchases until all that stuff is approved. So we have to wait until basically mid-July until we can actually order the door, which is another 4 weeks. So our door is needed to be, become ADA compliant because there's a large threshold there. So there's some issues here that I think sort of, hurt us as far as trying to move forward with some of these things. And I just, in fairness, I just think that because of that, the whole situation with the pre-approval, I just think it's not fair. There can be some things here we can talk about, I think, to be able to help it out. So I thank everybody. I really want to thank, by the way, city staff. I think staff they have been really helpful to us. The planners, everybody. Elon's been, to our place a couple of times, really. And, they've been nothing but reaching out to us. So all I would really want is just an ability to be able to, keep talking about this thing and go from there. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
I don't have any more.
Okay, is there anybody online that would like to speak at this time?
If you're connected to Zoom and would like to speak, can you please raise your hand? If you're connected by phone, you can do this by pressing *9. And I do not see any hands raised.
All right, thank you so very much. At this time, we'll go ahead and close call to the public. Item 6A is a presentation on Pinal Partnership. At this time, I would like to call forward Mr. Tony Smith, who is the president and CEO.
Mayor Walter, Vice Mayor Cordes, council members, thank you for having me. This is a great day to be in Pinal County and especially in the town of Florence. Thank you for your invitation and allow me to tell you about some of the things that we have going on with Pinal Partnership as we look to the upcoming year. But first, I want to thank you for your past participation in the partnership, either actively or in financial support. It really means a lot to us to have a multitude of voices and participation from a number of our area cities and communities, plus also the support that we get from the corporations and small businesses and the all those who participate in the Pinal Partnership. This is a little bit of a splattering of the participation that we have. Pinal Partnership is a 501c6 nonprofit. We have 22 board of directors and over 200 various members comprising a number of areas, whether they're institutional, utility, like I mentioned, communities like the town of Florence, or various businesses, manufacturing business, et cetera. One of the powers that we have within the partnership is to have voices in a multitude of committees. These are the committees that we have structured within the partnership. Unfortunately, during the COVID time periods, some of those committees have lost a little bit of the steam. And one of my jobs as the new president and CEO is to revitalize these committees and get them going. We do have some real strength in our government relations. We appreciate Ben Bitter, his participation in that committee, and the water resources. That committee has been very strong, working on a basin study that I'll talk about a little bit later. But these committees give us a lot of the various input that we as members, whether you're communities or for Pinal County and others, in order to study matters of importance to all of us. One of our signature events is our monthly breakfast. We will have our next breakfast in Goat Canyon. I hope you received your invitation. It'll be on Friday. It starts at 8 o'clock and runs till 9 o'clock. We'll have a panel of manufacturing representatives. Manufacturing is, as you know, is a big job producer as we continue to change Pinal County, embracing our historic industries such as agriculture and mining, but also supplementing that with new jobs, oftentimes with our manufacturing. But we appreciate the participation in the past of city manager updates, mayor updates. We've even attacked serious problems like the Johnson Utilities issue that was in the Santan Valley and associated also with portions of Florence. But we try to get those issues that are front and foremost of importance to our membership. We also have had past participation once the transportation issue with the regional transportation plan was created by me as one of the board of supervisors during that time. Pinal Partnership basically took over and did a lot of the marketing and positioning it for a favorable vote. Unfortunately, it's been over 3 years since the public said that they wanted that and approved that, and we're still very much waiting for a positive outcome from the Supreme Court on that particular issue. Like I mentioned, with Eloy, Maricopa, Stanfield, there's a basin study that was started over 3 years ago with a grant. We had 2 of our major utilities within Pinal County that studied that and provided a lot of data and background. And in May time period, we started some brainstorming, trying to find, based on the data and the information we have, what are some of the best ideas that we can put in order to best manage the water resources that we have within our AMA. We also do letters of support regarding various issues that come with the legislative session. And I would just want to so proud of some of the future projects that we're going to have. A lot of you know the static map that we passed out at the partnership that had a lot of the transportation and also the new projects. Well, we're wanting to do a whole lot better than that. My vision and the vision of the partnership is to digitize that, work with the county with some of their resources, work with some of our utility providers who are very good at GIS and other layering, and connect with our committees, whether it's the water resources or the transportation, and have various layers that you could turn on and turn off, all accessible by your laptop or by your smartphone. That way, when your economic development group is working with site selectors, or you're wanting to talk about transportation and new roads within Pinal County, you could go to hopefully a site that will be hosted by Pinal Partnership, and that fly really likes me a lot. And you'd be able to customize a map that you would be able to share and communicate with others. It's a big project. It's a big ask, but we think we have the vision for doing that, and looking forward to working with that as we continue on. One of the signature things that I've done in the past, and I think why Pinal Partnership was interested in having me as their president and CEO, is that strategic planning has been a thing that I've been very strong on, whether I was working with Motorola or as mayor of the city of Maricopa, bringing their first strategic plan, or working with Pinal County as one of your board of supervisors, bringing the idea of having a very vibrant and effective strategic plan in order to guide the next 3 to 5 years. This is something that I think that would really help the partnership as we continue to try and keep up with what our communities are doing, the county's doing, in order to stay fresh with our thoughts and be able to position ourselves for the growth that we're experiencing in Pinal County. We always want to improve. So we've conducted a membership survey. Hopefully you've participated in that. We've got the data. Now we're going through and analyzing the results, and hopefully we will be able to, in the very near future, be able to share with you the results of our customer satisfaction survey. We continue to have special projects, and if the town of Florence ever has an issue that they would like to bring forward and have the partnership or one of our committees study, we're a good resource, and we're very much appreciate your partnership with us, and hope if you want to have time for any particular questions or reaction from me, I'd be happy to share those. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming and bringing this presentation ahead. We certainly enjoy being a part of Pinal Partnership and engaging over this past year and a half. It has been very creative, especially with bringing on the online platform. And I'm excited about everything that has and is continuing to happen. Council, do you have any questions or comments?
I'd like to thank Tony for coming tonight and giving us an update, and also congratulate him on being our new CEO of the partnership.
Thank you very much, Mayor Walter and Councilmember Anderson, for your comments, and I'm looking forward to that job as I continue to do what I love for Pinal County.
I'll see you on Friday.
Thank you, sir.
And yes,
And
Mr.
thank you,
Smith,
Mayor.
thank you. I will see you on Friday as well. I apologize that I could not be there this evening in person, but I, again, am thankful for these Zoom platforms.
Yeah.
My son had a procedure and he just needs me nearby in case. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you very much.
All right, with that, we are going to next have the proclamation declaring July as Parks and Recreation Month in the town of Florence. At this time, I am going to ask our amazing technology support to go ahead and play the proclamation that has been a team effort in putting together. This is a proclamation declaring Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of the communities throughout this country, including Florence, Arizona. And whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. And whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas parks and recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the United States House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas Florence, Arizona recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now therefore I, Tara Walter, Mayor of the town of Florence, Arizona, do hereby proclaim July as Parks and Recreation Month in the town of Florence, dated this 21st day of June, 2021. Thank you so very much for that. And if you have not had an opportunity to check out what we have going on in the town of Florence in regards to our parks and recreation, I'd encourage you to look at the various events. I am always so pleased with the amount of kiddos that are participating in swim lessons, different activities going on through our senior center, and just overall in the community. So thank you. Next, we have our public hearing. This public hearing is to receive citizens' comments on the property tax levy of the town of Florence, and this will be our first reading of ordinance number 70321. This is an ordinance of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, levying the assessed valuation of the property within the town of Florence, subject to the taxation of a certain sum upon each $100 evaluation sufficient to raise the amount estimated to be received from funds for general municipal expenses for the fiscal year ending the 30th day of June, 2022. At this time, I'd like to call forward Ms. Becky Jimenez.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Town Council. Tonight, we're presenting the public hearing on our tax levy. Last year, the town rate was $5.85 per $100 of net assessed valuation. So we levied about $1,204,862. The property tax accounts for about 8% of the town's general fund revenue. The levy cannot be done tonight. It has to be done 2 weeks after the budget's adopted. So the next time we come together on July 6th, we'll be asking the town council to go ahead and adopt the levy at that time. It's the levy, not the rate, that drives the tax levy. The rate will fluctuate each year depending upon the net assessed valuation of real and personal property. Primary property tax levies are based upon the limited property value. This year, the maximum allowable rate is $1.802 or $1,319,321. This would have been a rated increase of about 4.0419 per $100 of net assessed valuation, or an increase of $4.19 per $100 of net assessed valuation. That would have brought in an additional $114,450 $114,459. This includes new construction. On a $100,000 home, this would have been $108.02. After a discussion with administration, we decided to go in with a proposed rate of $1.06 per $100 of net assessed valuation. That would bring in $1,294,649, and that's how I advertise this. This is an increase of about $2.17 over the current rate. It would bring in an additional $89,787 in property tax. This includes new construction. So on a $100,000 home, it would be $106. That is my discussion on the property tax levy. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
At this time, council, do you have any questions for Ms. Jimenez?
No.
I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing to receive citizens' comments at this time. Is there anybody in the audience or online that would like to speak into the record or ask any questions regarding this item?
There is one hand raised, Tiffany S.
Hi, Tiffany. Tiffany, go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, sorry. We live in Florence. We've been here about a year. I've been doing these calls. I appreciate how much you guys communicate and keep everyone updated with just all these changes that have been happening. I'm just wondering, and I apologize for any ignorance on this, but when these property taxes are going up, what are we benefiting as homeowners? Like, we live in Magma Ranch on the border of Santan and Florence, and we drive, 20 plus minutes to get to downtown Florence. We go to the library. Our son is in swimming lessons. We're trying to get acclimated with the community more, be a part of. We do volunteer at like the community garden. I volunteer at the Florence Food Bank. But I'm just wondering, like, where does this money go? And I mean, are there going to be parks? Are there going to be things that are closer to our side of Florence? Just kind of wondering overall where the money's going to go. Thank you.
Yes, I'll be happy to answer that. The money goes into our general fund. The general fund provides funding for a variety of departments, including administration, police and fire, parks and recreation, a lot of community development areas. So it's dispersed throughout. It's just like I said, it's 8% of the general fund revenue. So it goes to benefit the operations and maintenance of the general fund. Pardon me, may I ask, are you in the city limits or are you outside of the city limits?
I believe we're outside. We do pay the rural metro for the fire.
If you are out, pardon me, if you are outside the city limits, then you would not be have the primary property tax levied. It's only for citizens within the boundaries of the municipal boundaries.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Okay.
Not an ignorant fucking bitch, Jesus.
Our town manager had something he would like to say, and could we mute everybody that's not actually set up to speak for right now, please?
Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, I was going to recommend, I believe her name is Tiffany S. If you go on the town's webpage, you'll see a copy of the town's budget and capital improvement program. As Becky mentioned previously, the tax revenues that the town receives are programmed as part of the annual budget process and as part of the capital improvement program. So that will define where the tax revenues go for specific expenditures.
Thank you very much. I hope that answered your question, Tiffany, and always feel free to reach out. We're happy to help and we're always here for that purpose.
I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. Is there anybody else who had any questions, comments at this time, either in person or online or over the phone?
I do not see any other hands raised.
Okay, are there any council members that would like to speak at this time? At this
No.
time, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and move on to item D, which is our public hearing to receive citizen comments on the secondary property tax for fiscal year 21-22 for Anthem at Merrill Ranch Streetlight Improvement District, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And first reading of ordinance number 704-21. This is an ordinance of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, levying the assessed valuation of the property within the streetlight improvement districts numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, subject to taxation of certain sum upon each $100 of valuation sufficient to raise the amount estimated to be received from funds for streetlight operations for the fiscal year ending the 30th day of June, 2022. At this time, I will turn it over to Miss Becky Jimenez.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Town Council. This is our this is a first reading and a public hearing on the secondary property tax levy for the streetlight improvement districts. I'll go through streetlight improvement district will have a 0 levy this year because it has adequate funds to go ahead and fund the electrical costs. District number 2 will be levied at 0 because it has adequate funds for electrical costs. Streetlight improvement district number 3 will be levied 13.58 cents per $100 in net assessed valuation. Improvement district number 4 and 5 will be levied at $1.20 per $100 in net assessed valuation. Currently, their net assessed valuation is very low because this is it's just in development right now. So we don't have a strong net assessed valuation. So we had to go to the maximum for that. The district number 3 will result in $30,500 in secondary property tax. Number 4 will result in $37,666. And number 5 and $400 of net of secondary property tax. And that's not very much. It won't go to pay anything this year, but at least it'll establish the base for the property tax. So those are your secondary levies for this year.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from public or from council at this time for Ms. Jimenez?
I just have one quick recommendation. Whenever we speak about these different taxing districts, if you can please include a map of those taxing districts for the public so that they can know which one they might fall into if they're not unaware previously.
Okay, sure. We'll get that for our next public hearing.
Thank you.
Excellent suggestion. Thank you, council member. Any other questions or comments? At this time, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing to receive our citizens' comments on the secondary property tax for fiscal year 21-22 for the Anthem Merrill Ranch Streetlight Improvement District. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak at this time or ask any questions?
No one in-house.
Okay, is there
And
anybody?
I do not see any hands raised.
All right, at this time then, we will go ahead and we will close that public hearing. And again, this item will come before us on July 6th. Anybody can reach out anytime between now and then, as well as attend that meeting. Item 7 is to adjourn to a special meeting of the Florence Town Council. At this time, we need a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn to a special meeting in the Florence Town Council.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and that motion carries. 7A is a public hearing to receive citizens' comments on the proposed final budget for fiscal year 21-22 and discussion approval, disapproval of resolution number 178421. This is a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, adopting the budget for fiscal year 21-22. At this time, I will turn it over to Miss Becky Jimenez.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Town Council, you were presented the tentative budget previously, and it was adopted. We have made no changes to the budget since then. Our budget this year has a total amount of $65,792,740. We have exclusions, and I think we've discussed this already. Of $34,101,307, which puts us right at our expenditure limitation of $31,691,433. You have your schedules A through G attached. I hope you had time to look at it. It doesn't look like the regular printed budget, but this is the way that the official forms have to be filled out. So our budget is ready to go for adoption whenever you're ready.
I wanted to say thank you to our staff, our council, and our citizens for their participation throughout the process of this budget year. It has been unique, and I am pleased with how we continually listen to feedback and make improvements and continue to make improvements. Before turning it over for a roll call vote, are there any questions or comments from public or our council at this time? I'm opening the public hearing.
I have a question. Is the state revenue sharing nailed down now? Do we know for sure what we're getting?
Yes, what I have in the budget is all that we're going to be receiving this year.
Okay, thank you.
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Just in general, as we all sit here and we look at our budget and we scrutinize it and we go over it, every penny, we may agree and may not always agree on what we're trying to spend our money on or what takes priority over other things. I urge you to watch what our governor's doing with his budget, because his budget directly affects us. More than anything else, the governor directly affects us. So as we sit here and we see that we can't spend as much as maybe we're used to, or we've got to make some cuts somewhere, or we got to kind of tighten up a little bit, please pay attention to what your governor is doing, because we are on the losing end of this stick, us and everyone else. So it's disheartening to me to see what is happening to our cities and towns in this state. It kills me every year when I look at what's spent on education. And we have all these people that fight for education, yet nothing is getting done because we all want to be Facebook warriors instead of actually being action warriors. Get out of your house, get out of your seat, quit arguing on Facebook and actually show up to these meetings here and at the state level. And as far up as you can go, make your voice heard, because until we start to do that as a whole, as a community, we will continue to be set aside and we will continue to have our budgets cut. And so I just urge everybody to please be active so that we can fight and get what we deserve as citizens of the state of Arizona and the United States. I appreciate everybody who showed up tonight. Thank you so much.
And I'm going to add something onto yours, because one fact that I'm proud of in our community is we have our meetings at appropriate times and days that makes it feasible for most of our citizens to participate if they choose to. We are also always available, whether it's a phone call or an email that's sent to our council as a whole or our council and our staff. And I would further urge citizens when we're talking about our governor's budget, our state budget, and even higher up, if you are unable to attend those meetings, because they do meet typically during the workday of most of our citizens, again, you can have your voice heard by reaching out via email, making those phone calls. And if you can, showing up. If there's no further comments or questions, we will go ahead with a roll call vote. I do need a motion for that, please.
Mayor, was that you closing the public hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was you requesting a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have a motion yet?
Don't go right on ahead, sir.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution 1784-21.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Garcia, may we please have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez,
Aye.
Councilmember Hughes,
Aye.
Councilmember Mendoza,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cordes,
Aye.
Mayor Walter.
Aye.
The motion has carried.
Thank you. At this time, we need a motion to adjourn from a special meeting of the Florence Town Council.
Make a motion to adjourn from a special meeting of the Florence Town Council.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. At this time, we need a motion to adjourn to Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District number 1.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and that motion carries. Item 9A is a public hearing to receive citizens' comments on the property tax levy of the Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District number 1, and first reading of ordinance number MRCFD 1118-21. This is an ordinance of Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District number 1, Pinal County, Arizona, levying the assessed valuation of the property within a community facilities district, subject to taxation of certain sum upon each $100 evaluation, sufficient to raise the amount estimated to be received from funds for community facilities expenses for the fiscal year ending the 30th day of June, 2022. Ms. Becky Jimenez.
Tonight, I'm going to have Carl Detting present the Community Facility District action items. He works quite intensely with the districts, and he would like to present the information tonight.
All right, thank you very much for that.
Good evening, Madam Chairman and District Board members. This is a first reading for the tax levy for Merrill Ranch CFD District 1. There are 2 levies in CFD 1. There is the debt service levy and the administration levy. The debt service levy rate required is 0.8588 per $100 of net assessed value. This levy will generate $326,205 in revenue required to cover the annual debt service. The admin levy rate is set at 0.30 per $100 of net assessed value. This levy will generate $113,948 in revenue. The combined levy rate for Merrill Ranch CFD number 1 is 1.1588 per $100 of net assessed value. The combined revenue for both levies totals $440,153.
Thank you for that detailed information. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing to receive citizens' comments, as well as council can comment at this time if there is anything they would like to add into the record. Is there anybody who would like to speak online that I am missing?
I do not see any hands raised at this time, Mayor.
All right. Seeing no such movement, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing at this time, and this will be coming back before us again. Item B is a public hearing to receive citizens' comments on the proposed final budget for Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District 1 and possible adoption of resolution number MRCFD 14321, a resolution of the Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 1, Pinal County, Arizona, adopting the budget for fiscal year 21-22. Ms. Becky Jimenez, would you like Mr. Dudding to continue on with this item as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, District Board members, the annual budget is set at $3,468,788. This budget covers capital improvements, debt service, and administrative costs for the district. There have been no changes to this budget since it was delivered to you.
All right. At this time, we will go ahead and open our public hearing to receive comments on the proposed final budget. Is there anybody from public, both online or in person, or council that would like to ask any questions or speak into the record at this time? Seeing no such movement, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Item C is discussion, approval, disapproval of the Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 1, May 3rd, 2021 special meeting minutes.
That was the first.
Mayor, item B was for adoption.
Okay, hang on. Yes, possible adoption. Do we have a motion on that item?
I make a motion that we adopt resolution number MRCFDY 143-21.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item C is discussion, approval, disapproval of the Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 1, May 3rd, 2021 special meeting minutes. Everybody had an opportunity to read them over. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns the way that they were documented? Seeing no such movement, we need a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes in item 9C.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 10, we need a motion to adjourn for Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 1.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 11, we need a motion to adjourn to Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 11A is a public hearing to receive citizens' comments on property tax levy of the Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 2 and the first reading of ordinance number MRCFD 2-218-21. This is an ordinance of Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 2, Pinal County, Arizona, levying the assessed valuation of the property within the Community Facilities District, subject to taxation of certain sum upon each $100 evaluation, sufficient to raise the amount estimated to be received from funds for the community facilities expenses for the fiscal year ending the 30th day of June, 2022. Ms. Becky Jimenez.
Oh, go ahead and turn this over to Mr. Dudding.
All right, Mr. Dudding, thank you so much.
Madam Chairman, District Board members, As with CFD number one, there's two levies. There's the debt service levy and the administration levy. The debt service levy required is 3.25 per $100 of net assessed value. This levy will generate $848,615 in revenue required to cover the annual debt service. The admin levy is set at 0.30 per $100 of net assessed value. This levy will generate $78,334 in revenue. The combined levy rate for Merrill Ranch CFD number two is to be set at 3.55 per $100 of net assessed value. The combined revenue for these two levies totals $926,949.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'm opening the public hearing to receive citizens' comments, as well as any questions or comments from council. Would anybody like to speak into the record at this time? Is there anybody online or over the telephone that would like to speak at this time?
I see no hands raised at this time, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Going ahead, and we're closing public comment at that moment. Item B is our public hearing to receive citizens' comments on the proposed final budget for Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 2 and possible adoption of resolution number MRCFD 243-21. This is a resolution of Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 2, Pinal County, Arizona, adopting the budget for fiscal year 21-22. Mr. Dudding.
Do we have to have a motion to approve that one?
Not
Item A?
not item A, but item B there will be.
Good. Madam Chairman, District Board members, the annual budget for Merrill Ranch CFD number 2 is set at $5,031,786. This budget covers capital improvement projects, the debt service, and the administrative expenses for the district. There have been no changes to this budget as it was originally dispersed.
At this time, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing to receive citizens' comments on the proposed final budget, as well as any comments or questions from our council. Is there anybody who would like to speak at this time? Is there anybody online or over the telephone that would like to speak at this time?
Again, there are no hands raised at this time, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. With that, we need a motion for possible adoption of resolution number MRCFD 243-21.
I'll move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item C is discussion approval disapproval of the Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 2, May 3rd, 2021 special meeting minutes. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns regarding the way that they were documented?
No.
Seeing no such moved, we need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And that motion carried. We need a motion to adjourn from Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 2.
So moved.
We need a
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And that motion carries. Item 13 is our consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a council member or a member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. Item A is approval of necessary operating transfers to the general fund in an amount not to exceed $92,887. Item B is authorization to enter into an intergovernmental agreement between the Florence Unified School District and the Town of Florence, Florence Police Department to provide one school resource officer for Florence High School. Item C is authorization for the town manager to approve and ratify 2 utility easements with Arizona Public Services, which are necessary to participate in the APS Solar Communities Program and the APS Takes Charge Program. Item D is approval of a community development block grant program cooperation and coordination agreement with Pinal County. Item E is to authorize the town manager to execute the SRP Municipal Aesthetics Program Funding Agreement and Design Service Contract for the Judd and Felix Conversion Project. Item F is resolution number 1788-21, which is discussion approval, disapproval of a resolution of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving the final plat for Circle K at the northwest corner of Hunt Highway and Merrill Ranch Parkway, and authorizing execution by the town manager of supporting documents. Item G is approval of the April 26th, May 3rd, and May 17th, 2021 Town Council meeting minutes. Item H is to receive and file the following board and commission minutes. 1, October 8th, 2020, November 12th, 2020, December 10th, 2020, February 11th, 2021, and May 13th, 2021, Community Services Advisory Board meeting minutes. And 2, May 6th, 2021, Planning and Zoning meeting minutes. Is there anybody from the public or our council that would like any item removed at this time? Seeing no such moved, we need a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. All right, at this time, I am to ask Vice Mayor Cortez, did you still want to make that request for switching the new business with the unfinished business order, or shall we proceed the way that we are?
We could proceed the way we are. We're doing good on time, so. Sorry, I have to leave it early, so I was trying to be here for as much as I could be. But yeah, so far we're doing good.
Okay, thank you. Item 14, unfinished business. Item A is discussion approval, disapproval of entering into a professional services agreement with Motivational Systems, Inc. for design, construction, and installation of downtown wayfinding signs in an amount not to exceed $75,000, and direct town manager to create and execute this agreement. At this time, I'll call forward Mr. Larry Harmer.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Pleased to bring this item in front of you tonight. This is a follow-up to the presentation we did a few meetings ago regarding status of the kiosk sign program and the wayfinding sign programs. We did go out to a to a request for proposals was issued in April. We did receive a number of calls or communications regarding the project, although we only did end up receiving 2 actual proposals. The inquiries we got were from design firms, but they were not in a position to actually conduct the construction aspect of the project. And for whatever reason, didn't come back with any, teaming efforts with contractors or anything at that point. Of the 2 submittals we received, the first one was deemed incomplete. There was lack of certain information that was required or requested in the RFP. As one of our in-staff reviewers commented, I think the best single word evaluation of that proposal was underwhelming. It really did not address a lot of the aspects of the wayfinding sign program that we had asked for. The submittal we did receive from Motivational Systems, Inc. was deemed responsive and indeed actually met or exceeded the requirements of the request for proposals in their submittal. As we noted in the staff report, and you have copies of in your packet, they not only submitted the minimum requirements for the proposal, they actually already proceeded with 3 design alternatives for us to start talking with as far as communication through the Chamber of Commerce, downtown businesses, and HDAC as far as directional wayfinding signs, pedestrian wayfinding signs in and around the downtown core area. With that in hand, once the contract's executed, this really facilitates and accelerates our ability to start discussing designs and have something that we can take to the various boards and or groups and bring back a recommended design to the council for final direction to move into construction and installation. So our estimate that this could be done and installed before the end of this calendar year, I think, is definitely on task. With that, our recommendation is to move ahead with the contract. If you notice it, it's up to $75,000. That is the CIP budgeted amount. Although in our RFP, we did request that they submit in the $70,000 range. We did want to leave room for any contingencies that might occur during the course of design and or construction. So the recommendation is to award the full 75 and a not to exceed amount. And with your approval tonight, then we will proceed to contract. We do have representatives of MSI here tonight, should you have any specific questions of them.
Thank you, Mr. Harmer. And just as a point of clarification and just for complete understanding, this is a project that we have talked about both as a council on various boards and committees, as well as in our community it was pre-COVID, probably about a year and a half-ish, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even as far as 2, because we have continually been talking about our wayfinding signs, and that tied in with our branding. And part of the reason that the wayfinding signs had been pushed out so much is because we were also focusing on the branding simultaneously. And with that, I was going through, because when Miss Kathy Adams spoke earlier, I just wanted to reaffirm that, because when we're talking about signage in the community, we want to make sure that we are saying, you are in the town of Florence. The intent of the program is to promote citizen and visitor awareness of the businesses, our features, our historic amenities, as well as the attributes in the community. Is there anything else that you would like to add to that, Mr. Harmer?
Just a small point. I agree completely. We actually started this discussion in earnest during the update to the sign ordinance, part of the development code. And you're correct, COVID kind of slowed everything down as far as projects were concerned. We're just happy to be able to move this one forward at this point in time. And in discussions with MSI, we can even hold off on certain logo discussions as far as what may or may not be put on these signs and move forward with the basic design aspect of it itself. So if for some reason you select some type of a branding logo or something of that nature tonight, that's fine. But if you don't and it gets moved out for any reason, that's not going to hamstring this project.
All right, thank you. Council, do you have any questions or comments?
I have a couple questions. So
Councilman-
I was looking at, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just acknowledging you. Go ahead.
So I was just looking at some of the proposal options, and I guess I had some questions back to some of the points that Kathy brought up about the chamber putting their logo on items versus us, as well as even the color design and aspects of these signs. How much of that is something that we're going to be putting a say on, or how much is it something that they're going to be taking control of and just implementing on their own?
As far as what the chamber will be doing versus us?
So in the proposal, like proposal option A, there is a visual there that it gives of a brown and green sign with yellow lettering.
Mm-hmm.
Just to point what I'm looking at. Okay. So how on point are these type of options versus what the reality of what they're going to look like? And is this something that they're going to take the leadership on and the installation and design? Or is this something that us or the chamber is going to be taking the lead on when it comes to the project and what logo even goes on these signs?
Well, Mayor, Councilmember Rodriguez, the options in here we're not tied to begin with. These are something that they added to their proposal give us an idea of different aspects of how the designs could happen. That's something that'll be yet to be determined. That includes colors, everything that relates to it. I know that in previous projects, and I'm not sure if any of these actually demonstrate that, there were even different color panels for different types of uses. One would be restaurants would have its own color designation, retail would have its own color designation, civic organizations would have its own. So there's various ways that this can happen. That's the next step, is to get out and start discussing these. This is in the town budget, so the town will be administering the contract. As far as the overall design, construction and installation is that's concerned, but the chamber is going to definitely be involved with this. You know, we've visited with Roger early on with this, although not since the proposal aspect. We wanted to get this going so that we can move forward with any public input or public meetings that we would bring in the chamber, downtown businesses, and as I said, HDAC, whoever's appropriate.
Yeah, as you know, I've supported this project for a long time. It's something I really was looking forward to. I just want to make sure that our roles, both as the chamber and as the town, and who's taking leadership on what aspects of this project is really clearly defined, so that we're not having false expectations set for either the chamber, ourselves, or the designers of the project.
And keeping in mind that these are intended to be constructed wherever possible within the town's right of way. We do have to have pretty strong control over where they go and how that's handled.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from council at this time?
My microphone seems to be really loud, or it's John's speaker. So whether it's at this particular item A or B, either way, we have to have the discussion of the logos. And so before we take up the time of the design team that's here to discuss our town logo, I think we all need to be on the same page as the purpose of the two different logos, the chamber's logo, which is what I'm going to call it right now, because that's how I'm going to associate it. It's for business and tourism and stuff like that, versus the town logo. And so I think that a lot of us are confused. I'm on both committee. I mean, I'm on that committee, and I sit here and am trying to decide two logos, and I'm like going, oh my God, what are we doing? Just because it is confusing. It's confusing because I've said from the beginning that I don't understand how we're doing two separate logos, and that at some point the two logos need to marry together, because they most likely will be on things at the same time. Whether it be a publication, I'm hoping on a sign, we're not going to have both logos unless it's a special event sign, for like the rodeo or something, then we would have our town logo and then our tourism logo. But I think we need some real clarification from somebody as to the purpose of the two logos, who's in charge of what logo. Everybody needs to keep in mind, all logos have parameters that everybody has to stick to. You can't alter logos. Once they're set, they're set. So I, as somebody who deals with logos a lot through marketing, am still perplexed as to how these two are going to go together. I know that he's laughing at me. I know that both design teams have spoken to each other. They've worked together. They are communicating and they know what's going on. But I feel like we don't understand it. And Kathy Adams' comment brings to light that exact problem. They're looking at things and they thought that the tourism logo was going to go on this stuff. And I'm saying, no, it's the town logo, because that's a town project. That's not a chamber's project. So if somebody could just give us some light on how this will work together, no matter what logo is selected for each project.
If I might, as it relates to the wayfinding sign program, there doesn't have to be any logo. I want to clarify that. These can be very much like the historic district street signs that we have. And they just identify, this downtown Florence or downtown historic Florence or whatever. There doesn't have to be any logo. It just so happened that the MSI put some on sample signs, but we're not making any design decisions tonight at all, zero, none. Just want to make sure that everybody understands that. That's what we have to move forward with. If the council wishes to have a logo of some sort on these signs, there will be an allowance made in the design aspect of it that could happen. But it's not a requirement of the wayfinding signs, as long as we do identify the historic core of Florence.
Right. And for those signs, whichever way we go, that's great. But if we go with a logo, we all need to go, like Councilwoman Rodriguez said, we all need to know what logo is going to be on it, because I don't want the town, the citizens to think it's going to be the tourism logo and then it's the town's logo. And then everybody say, oh, we didn't know that. We thought it was going to be something else. So I just, regardless of what logo or what we're talking about, let's just have a real quick discussion about which logo takes priority over the other, what type of events, like just something that would be easy for all of us to understand. And Miss Adams is raising her hand. She wants to interject there. So I don't know, Mayor, if we can let her interject before somebody answers that question, or I don't know.
One moment, I just want to speak something. It was my understanding, and again, this is going over the past 2 years of discussions that we've had this project in motion. It was my understanding in prior discussions, we talked about having the town logo on the wayfinding signs. And that's the reason it has taken us this long to even get to this part of the process. Now, I am aware that the chamber has been working on their logo for the tourism and that branding. And it's my opinion that for our town and for our community, much in the way other municipalities are set up, they have their town logo on, their signs, their marketing, as well as you mentioned, Vice Mayor Cortez, when we have special events that we partner with, such as the Junior Prado Rodeo, any other type of events that we could arrange it to where there are two logos. I have had a conversation recently with Mr. Ben Bitter, and this is going to happen in the next agenda item B, because what's interesting is there is a way that you could almost marry those two so they're complementary when we have events that we partner on. But it's my opinion that and I'm only one of 7 of us, when we are promoting the town, that it's with the town logo, because this is what we have expended, time, money, public input, and gathering all of that feedback into going into what that logo is going to be. We've invited the public to these meetings, and we have, received their input in regards to the logo. And I think that it would be confusing if it turned around and then all of a sudden we have one logo that is just solely on, say, our letterheads, but then everywhere in the community is another logo.
Mayor, if I can add on to that too, you talked about how you don't have to have a logo. And to me, I just want to, I know this is going to be a split conversation, but I also want to point out that in branding and marketing, a logo isn't just the circle spot you see. It's the type font you use, and it's the spacing and the lettering. It's all inclusive. So even if you don't have the actual logo per se, everything about these signs should be consistent with our messaging and consistent with the logo that we're creating. I think that's what got us to this point to begin with, is that we had so many different logos brought from all these different aspects. So in some way, shape, or form, it needs to be tied in, whether it's just in type font or with the actual visual image.
Well, and I somewhat agree, keeping in mind that some of this is in the historic downtown. And so I would hope that we're going to be focusing these to a more historic aspect of design, and the logo itself is going to be more universal. So that's a discussion that Mr. Bitter wants to jump in on.
Well, I'd like to just simplify it. I think whoever pays gets their logo on it,
Good point.
If the chamber is sponsoring something, they pay. If it's on our vehicles, our letterheads, things that we own, our signs, it's our logo.
Yeah.
Now, when we do a partnership, we put both of them on there. It's just that simple. Thank you.
Mr. Bitter, is there something you wanted to chime in as well?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the council. I think the discussion has been largely getting us to the point where we need to get. The one thing that I would add is that as part of the tourism logo developed with the chamber and Local First Arizona, brand standards were developed. As far as our logo, which we'll be discussing next, brand standards will also be developed after the development of or the approval of a logo. And those brand standards lay out some of those type of questions. They kind of answer some of those questions. What I'd say generally, we can kind of say if you pay for it, then your logo goes on there. But there's also times when we may want to have a more broad message, a message where we're trying to attract people in. For example, if our economic development department wants to sponsor an ad in a tourism magazine, they certainly could do that. We certainly could do that, and we could choose to use the tourism logo as opposed to a town logo. Town logo may be different again from a town seal. The seal may be used in official communication, but our logo generally used throughout the community. So those type of questions, some of them are yet to be answered because we still have item B before us. And then from there, we'll go and develop the brand standards. But I think generally we have from the Chamber of Commerce's efforts, the brand standards manual that has been approved through that logo, and that will match up in terms of how it's used with the brand standards that come from our seal and our logo. So some of it yet to be determined, but I think that's generally the path that we're on.
I agree. And then Miss Kathy Adams, I wanted to also hear from you if you would like to speak at this time.
I'm sorry, I opened up a can of worms. I feel I misdirected the conversation. I am not quibbling with wayfinding signs having the town logo on. I'm 100% there, and I hope they are on there. I think that's but that's where they should be. And because I'm envisioning they're on the outskirts of town, welcoming people in and telling them where to go. And so my confusion is more in placement, and it was with the historic district because, and maybe it's just my confusion, but in all our discussions and the examples we were shown of how it could be used, a banner hanging on a light pole for an event in the historic district, which is where we all were heading with our vision of the tourism logo, because to outsiders, we feel they would be more attracted to something around tourism than to come to see a town official logo, right? So maybe my question is more in placement. And Councilmember Anderson, I don't know. I mean, I have a marketing background and I am not opposed to sharing, but I think it's getting messy if we're, say, advertising the parada and there's a picture of a rider and then there's town logo and there's the historic district logo. So I'm just trying to understand placement in the district and how it's used and how to be as clear as possible and recognize if the town's sponsoring the event. But I think it's a little mushy. Thank you.
I appreciate that clarification, and I agree with what you're saying, but I feel that there will be further clarification for you when we get to the next agenda item of 14B, because there is some pretty creative marketing logos that have married the two together pretty effectively. Are there any other questions or comments from our council? All right, with that, we need a motion to approve or disapprove entering into a professional services agreement with Motivational Systems, Inc. for the design, construction, and installation of the downtown wayfinding signs.
Vote to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And that motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Item 14B is discussion approval, disapproval of an updated town seal and a new town logo. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Benjamin Bitter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the council. We have with us tonight again, Louis Moses, formerly of Moses Inc. The company is now a part of the Reister marketing behemoth, as I will call it. a large marketing firm within the state of Arizona that's done a lot of marketing projects, even for the state itself. But Louis has been with us from the start since we started back in January with this process of reinventing and updating our town seal and town logo. The discussions that we've had, I think, have been productive, and I guess I'd be happy to turn it over to Louis where he can present tonight for you all the sample seals and sample logos that you all can choose moving forward. So.
Thank you. Ben, you're going to drive. This is forward. Let's see. There we go. Hello, everyone. I was not prepared for the long logo discussion, but I appreciate everything you're saying. As a professional logo designer, I could list all of my national logos, but there's one rule you follow with the logo, and it's put it everywhere. Just put it everywhere. If we come up with a Town of Florence logo tonight that we like, you guys should have underwear printed with it. It has to be everywhere. But I understand that there's more nuances to where it goes, and some public and some private, some county. But what I came here tonight to show you is what I'm really excited about this, because after about, I would say 4 or 5 iterations, we realized that we can't do everything we need to do with one mark. So I proposed to Ben, let's try to do a seal that can be used on certain things, and a branding marketing logo that pretty much should be used on everything else. And that's where we are today. As you can see, wow, that yellow color is horrible. We're going to talk about colors tonight, but whoever adjusted that screen needs a new pair of glasses. Let's see. So color exploration will be fun since it's going to be tinted in yellow. If you notice the black seal, without the colors, it can be embossed or debossed or used on the side of a building. But we wanted to explore different colors with this same Town of Florence stamp seal going forward. There's one of the suggestions that was made last council meeting was to consider blue. We added a mark you can see on the left in the triangle that's water. And that's the river. What's the river name, Ben?
The Gila River.
Okay.
So we explored the blue with the yellow sun. We explored the copper or the tan with the yellow sun. One color version of it on the left and a reverse out version on the right. So let me just go back for a second. Does everyone understand the seal being different than the logos? Anybody want to discuss that? Everybody's cool? All right. So here's one. It's another version. That version. We can come back and discuss each one of them. And so we also, just to show you what it would look like in content, we put it on some things. These are the banners that you're talking about. These kind of banners it can be used for. So now let's get into the logo marks. And please interrupt me if you need me to explain more. First idea is a floating F over the most famous building in town. And we tried the yellow and orange. Again, it's going to look different on everybody's monitor, so we want to try to find web comfortable colors. We wanted to put the Town of Florence in a more progressive, more moving forward type of situation. And the first one and the second one, let me go back here. That one, where you can see the tower, if you look closely, the F and the tower are blended together. We explored the green color. Oh, okay. One of the things that was brought up last time too is that we had too many of the same warm deserty tones. So this one also brought a little historic approach and softened the word Florence by putting it in orange yellow. The mark above it is a small f that can be used by itself or separately, or together with type. This execution, we tried 3 or 4 versions just to kind of explore if this is a more elegant way to go than a bolder type. Then we came back to this type of thing. My recommendation is to consider this one heavily because the mark can be used separately. The typeface is unique. The kerning and spacing, as Kristen mentioned, is an important part of any logo. That typeface, we evolved it a little bit and changed the R and the C. So it'll be a personalized typeface for you. And with these logos, you can see how they'll be used in context. The logo mark can be used for apps like Instagram on your phone. This is a way it could be used as a business card. Here's how it could be used as banners. The town of Florence is really open and in need of some similar logos. When we did, Ben put together a deck that had, I'm going to say 25 different designs, maybe even more. And like I said, if we decide on one tonight, the town of Florence will benefit by putting it as many places as possible. That's what it would look like on a business card. Here's some banner ideas again. And you can see it's very important for that mark that's above every one of these logos that can be used separately too. It can go down to a 1/2 inch square, which that's pretty much what happens with an app. Business card, just simple F. That has a mix between modern and historic. That bolder typeface, I really like because I feel like it can be used separately or together with a lot of different things. It matches a lot of what the feeling is in downtown Main Street. So here is the entire group that I just went through. I'd like to go and I don't know, how would you like to do this, Ben? Where we take some votes?
Yeah, I think open up for comments and see if the council has preferences one or the other. Certainly lead us in a direction with color ultimately, and then we'll go from there.
As you can see, the top 5, the colors can be interchangeable, and that's the important thing to remember. The designs are exactly the same. The color is treated a little bit different in each one of them.
I'm going to open this up at this time for council discussion.
I just want to say that for those of you that are not looking at my personal computer screen, the colors that you're looking at are not true to what I'm looking at on my screen. So what looks like the seal number 1 on our screen is, I don't want to say vibrant because I wouldn't necessarily call that vibrant.
It's saturated.
But it's a lot brighter.
A lot brighter.
Yeah, it's more of a like true orange, like an orange, not a muted, candy washed out orange. So as we're talking, we're looking at something different as far as color wise than what you're seeing. And it's unfortunate that our color is distorted that way because it's really not doing them justice because they are much prettier than what they're seeing. So.
Well, everybody's computer screen is always set differently, and between Apple and PCs, there's a big difference too. They use different types of bulbs.
I just want to first of all say thank you so much, because I honestly, when I saw these for the first time, I opened them with a little bit of anxiety. And when I was so pleasantly surprised when I pulled them up, I honestly feel like any of these would work for me. I really found that the colors added more depth. Again, we're looking at more of the colors that we're seeing on our screen here, but really added depth and character, but also represented our community. A lot of things that we hold important and things that we want to project into the future, but also things that tie into our history and tie into who we are, even just today. So I really do appreciate all of the logo options. I like seeing them on products and the way that you represented them as well. I personally do like number 4 for the logo as my favorite. That's the one I was naturally drawn to, just because I feel like it almost is similar to what we have seen in some of our typeface right now. But it's also could be easily tied into either seal number 1 or seal number 4. But personally, I almost did like seal number 2 a little bit better when I'm seeing it on the screen over here with the darker, I don't know, what would you call that? Maybe a taupe, what would you call that blue, that tealy dark?
The blue.
It's not light blue like it is on the screen here.
It's like a
dark sky blue.
What'd you say?
Almost a sky blue.
Dark.
Number
dark.
2, number 2 is more of a sky blue.
Dark sky blue. Yeah, versus over here, it's more like a light sky blue. But yeah, I do like that one a lot, but I could see how 4 would maybe go a little bit more cohesively with number 4 in the seal or even number 1. Yeah, I like I said, I love all of them.
Thank you.
They're fantastic.
We always start with anxiety and then get to joy.
For me, as far as the logo, I like number 4. I do not like number 1 at all. That one, the minute I saw it, I was like, no, because it reminds me of, it makes me think of India, not the town of Florence. When I look at it, I realize that it's the top of our courthouse, but it's too distorted for me. So I don't like that one, but I do like number 4. And for the seal, I can go with any of them. Actually, I don't mind any of their colors.
I think one of the things we can do with the seal is come up with a color palette, and depending on the usage, how big or how small it's going to be, we can choose colors accordingly. So I don't think the seal we have to decide on one color treatment for the seal. When, like Ben said, we're going to come back with brand standards saying how to use it, what sizes, what you can put around it. And that's when we can explore a range of color.
Yeah, I really like the seal, like when you have it with the blue background and the seal is white. To me, that's very crisp and clean. That's not on the screen. It's just an example on our computer, but I really liked that picture. So I could do any of the seals that, like you said, the colors are pretty similar. There's some minor changes in them, but they don't.
It's always
bother
going to be
me.
a challenge with computer screens because people are using, brightening things and it just depends on the manufacturer. But we can come up with a color palette that if we see it is coming up different colors. For instance, when I shoot film, purple doesn't really record. It looks like blue. So you adjust the usage of it. So you don't put it around other things that accentuates it's not the right color. So I think the color palette for the seals would really, really solve that problem.
Okay, I think we're pretty well in agreement on the logo being number 4. And I guess I agree with the seal, and I like the idea of us being able to change the color to match whatever we're doing at the time.
I agree.
5 and 4 for me. We just have Mr. Mendoza left.
I think I'm in agreement. I do like this logo. And I do like the fact that we can use different colors on it. I kind of agree with the logo on the bottom. Number 1, I mean, maybe if we took the 2 little dots off at the bottom where it doesn't look like it's on a stand. But other than that, the logo number 3, I do not like. I think we need to be a bigger F than that because this is Florence. But I do like number 4 as well.
My comment on that, the F, I don't think we want to be known as the F town.
It's ironic that you said that. That's what I had a discussion with Ben, but I can also see the flip side of F for Florence, easily identifiable with the courthouse. I mean, for me, I like 4 and 4. I also like 4 as or 5 as the seal and still 4 as the logo. But I'm really impressed with the hard work and effort that the company has put forth, the consulting firm has put forth in continuing to communicate with our council, our staff, and continually listen and apply that feedback. That says a lot for your company, and I do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was definitely a completely different meeting than the first logos that you brought to us. So I appreciate that you listened and that you really tried to bring Florence into our idea of what we wanted to look like. And you kind of understood we're a little against change. We want it, but we are still a little against it. So thank you.
All art should have a little anxiety attached to it.
Are there any more questions or comments from council? All right, do you feel confident with the directions that we've given?
So are we going to have a further discussion about the coloration of the seal, and or is that going to be left to be a variable? Based on the
I
use
would
going
suggest
forward?
let us do the brand standards. And in the brand standards, there'll be a color palette. Probably I'll do a primary color palette and a secondary color palette, depending on where it's being used. And we can then mix and match when we have the brand standards together.
Okay.
And
Pick a color for the primary color palette that we'd like to see on that, or is it something that we'll design at a later date?
yeah, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Rodriguez, I would say in terms of a motion, if you're looking to make a motion that you would recommend a seal with a color palette to be determined as part of the brand standards, and then the logo of your choice, just so that we can move forward with one specific seal, one specific logo. Obviously, if you want to have the color palette moved forward, really any of the seals would work just based off of the brand standard. So as long as we have a motion to do that, then I think we're comfortable moving forward to develop those brand standards.
All right, understood.
So I make a motion that we approve logo number 4 and that we approve the town seal with its color palette to be determined based on the brand standards at a later date. Second?
Which
Yes.
which logo? Because you said the seal, but not the logo number.
No, I said the logo number 4.
Logo number 4.
Seal.
And the seal is all the same except for the color. That's the only difference in the seals.
Right.
So we're approving, I'm motioning that we approve logo 4, which is the courthouse, town of Florence. And then the seal, we will determine the color based on the brand standards. So we're not going to actually pick the color because we might end up with 2. Is the way I understood it.
I would say number 4 in the seals, and number 4 in the logos. That could be our primary base color. As you mentioned, the white background on number 1 and number 2 seals, that can also be a version of the brand standards. So it's possible that 2 or 3 of the 5 seals that I put together, 2 or 3 of them may be used in the brand standards. And like Ben said, we can take them out and put them back in, or make them tertiary or secondary colors as opposed to primary colors. But number 4 in the seal and number 4 in the logo, for me, I can make that work.
Yeah.
Okay.
They look like they're from the same family. But I don't have an answer on where to put it other than everywhere. I wish I did.
So do I amend my motion? Okay, so I'm going to amend my motion. I motion to approve logo number 4 and seal number 4.
But we still need the brand standards.
With what she said, with the brand standards.
Right.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, item 15 New business, item 15A is discussion, approval, disapproval to enter into agreement number 3753-20-TOF between the state of Arizona, acting through its Department of Transportation, and the town of Florence to enable them to remove exiting utility facilities in order to complete the State Route 79 Gila River Bridge project in an amount not to exceed $105,000. Mr. Chris Salas.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Salas couldn't be with us this evening, so I'm going to cover this item for him. As you know, staff has been working with ADOT for about 2.5 years, preparing for the replacement of the bridge over the Gila River. As part of that, there's been a lot of work in terms of utility coordination with respect to how that project takes place, not only between the town and ADOT, but also all the various different utilities that are part of the project. The intent here is that ADOT's contractor who will be doing all the grading work, the 404 permit, all of the scour protection as part of the bridge project, doing the actual borings for the caissons for the project. We have some old facilities that are out there in the way. We have an old sewer line that's no longer in use. And we have an old lift station. If you've seen it, it's off the left-hand side of the road as you approach the bridge in a northbound direction. Those have to be removed as part of the project. And that's the town's responsibility to remove that. So what we've been able to negotiate with ADOT is so that we're not having different contractors out there and we can use the order of magnitude costs associated with the contract, that we would actually provide funding to ADOT to have their contractor, when they're out there doing the other work, actually remove those utility improvements that are out there in place that are no longer in use. So that's what this item is. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions from council?
No.
No.
Seeing none, we need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And that motion carries. Item 15B is discussion, approval, disapproval of the Florence Downtown Commercial Rehabilitation Program for fiscal year 21-22 in an amount not to exceed $250,000. At this time, I am going to call Mr. Elon Valander up.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to table this before we get started. I think we need to, as Kathy Adams has expressed tonight, there's a lot of confusion. I would like to see us table this.
I'm going to just say this without saying a second yet. I was going in the same direction as you, but I also wanted to give opportunity for our staff to give the overview, so that way people that are not familiar or have not had an opportunity to read through the agenda packet, they have the understanding of what this program is that is being proposed. I was also planning on calling Miss Kathy Adam up to have some dialogue, and I wanted to, instead of tabling it, make a suggestion to table pending a work session.
Okay, I'll go along with that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Mr. Valander?
Madam Mayor, members of council, I appreciate the opportunity to get up to present on this item this evening. I'm actually very excited and would like to echo and acknowledge members of the public that got up and spoke before. I'd like to echo their comments in regards to, I'm excited that this city council has placed dollars within the budget for an item such as downtown revitalization. Your priorities are mirrored in your budget. And so I'm grateful to be a part of a town that has this place. I'd like to give a little bit of background in regards to what brought us to this point as town staff. So of course, council has put $200,000 in a downtown revitalization budget within the CIP. We've also, or you have also passed a redevelopment plan recently that identifies a few of the items that are wrapped up in this particular program as items to focus in on to bring new activity into our downtown. In addition, we recognize that there are a lot of vacancies within downtown and looked at what are the underlying principles that are causing some of these vacancies to occur and to perpetuate over the years. Within that, I've had several discussions, and town staff has had several discussions with business owners, members of stakeholders within the community, as well as some of the building owners. One of the elements that is consistently brought up is the costs that are associated with getting these buildings to a state where they can be occupied again. In addition to all of these elements, we recently had an awning that was damaged in the downtown area that led towards the closure of a sidewalk. So staff has been looking for opportunities to take these obstacles that we have of development and move past them, find a program to get those taken care of. So that's where we stand today with the rehabilitation program. The goal of this program is to essentially get these buildings that are in downtown that are vacant to a point where they can have a C of O, a certificate of occupancy. We'd like to look at the $200,000 that council's put into the CIP and combine that with $50,000 that is currently in the fire sprinkler grant program. Part of the reason for that is that the sprinkler grant program would be covered under this grant program as well. So there's no need to have two grant programs that cover the same items. So the purpose of this grant program as it stands right now is to address deteriorating property conditions, to increase the number of certificates of occupancy, and thereby encourage new use of the unoccupied commercial buildings in downtown. The grant program itself was designed with the CDBG grant program, commercial grant program in mind. Part of the reason that we did that is to ensure that we were looking at programs that have already been vetted in communities. CDBG has been around a long time, and the legalities within the state of Arizona, we recognize that as a program, it's been functional and therefore is a good model to start with. So this grant program will provide for reimbursements of up to 75% of projects that correct documented interior and exterior building code and life safety code violations or issues. The maximum award for any grant application would be $50,000 per building, and work that was completed prior to the program application or approval is not reimbursable under this version. That being said, there's a list of eligible improvements that could be under there. These are just kind of a sample of different types of improvements that could be made within these buildings. It's in no way a complete list. That would be driven by, again, building code and life and safety code issues. Eligible participants under the program would be property owners and tenants of commercial buildings that are located in the redevelopment area. In addition, these properties would have to be commercial, zoned either downtown commercial, B1, B2, NO, which is neighborhood office, PI, public institution, and any PUDs that might exist out there. Nonprofits are eligible to apply for this grant. The grant would open on July 1st, and the application cycle would be from July 1st to May 30th. Ending on May 30th to ensure that there's time to process applications and give time for any projects to close up before the end of the fiscal year. So due to the fact that this is based on CIP funds, we want to ensure that there's a chance, if there is a chance that those funds don't get renewed the next year, that projects can tie up and receive their reimbursements before that happens. So again, this item's for discussion. I would be open to answer any questions in regards to this. It was also brought forth as an action item. It's an obvious option or an available option to table this to a future work session. So we'd be happy to do that. But in the meantime, if you do have questions on this, I'd be happy to answer those questions.
All right, thank you very much. I know that a few questions and comments came forward. I did also receive one from Ms. Bonnie Barriola, And I don't know if she had an opportunity to communicate with you, but she had referenced how we were able to utilize, the interns previously, as well as wanting to be able to assist with, this project. She has a strong history of being able to help and support some projects that have happened on our main street. And I wanted to share that information as well tonight. Miss Kathy Adam, is there anything that you wanted to bring up right now specific to the presentation that Mr. Valander just presented?
I know, I don't want to bring up anything additional. I want to thank the mayor and the council for taking further consideration, because I really, really want this to be successful. And I see some missing links. And just as a really brief example, I couldn't read all your examples of what it could be used for, but for a property owner, it would be so helpful if you do a minimal flow chart and go A, B, C. These are the commissions you have to involve. This is the lead time involved. I got stuck in an HDAC review when I did my house because I didn't know I had to do that. I missed the cutoff because you have to submit your paperwork 3 weeks in advance of their once a month meeting. It stretched out to almost 3 months. I lost my contractor because they're not going to wait around for you, right? So those are just some examples that it would be so helpful to the property owners, and not go outside your guidelines, but give them a clue what they have to plan for, and pitfalls that we've all experienced. And one other thing we did, when Sammy Joe Beebe came to town, great addition to our town, the HDAC had a special work session, and it was off the record. It was not her formal design review, just to sit around the table and say, these are the things, and to offer some options she might not have thought of. And so when she got to her design review, it just sailed through. So it's small steps, but I think as a property owner, you guys live and breathe this. And when you write it, it seems very obvious. It is not to us at all, besides the expense. So I think it would make it much smoother. And then there's some questions about when you need to have a business license. I mean, if you're going to apply for a grant, you haven't been awarded the grant, why would the contractor go get a business license to work in Florence? That should come later, because if you got the grant and you hire them, they have to get their business license. That's when they would give you their ROC number. There's some things when you do up front, contractors are not going to be responsive on these bids. It's time is money, and they don't know they're going to get the job. And for most of them coming into this town, they're going to be coming down from other places, and it's not worth the effort. So we got to make it easy. We want the best guys here. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'm thankful that you brought that up. I always looked when I saw those forms, when you're talking about the ROC number, I associated that with their state ROC. And then if they were awarded it, they would have the town of Florence. But I do definitely see the value in having the step-by-step in the flow chart. I think that, that's valid as a council. Something that myself and I've heard from others is we are always actively working to streamline and make process easier. And that is definitely something that we're always looking at. We are always striving to improve, and we want to have the investments that we're trying to put into our community to help it be successful and thriving, be able to be utilized. So I do see value in having that work session and bringing people together. Originally, this program was put together because we had some community members and business owners step forward and say, these are issues that we've run into. This is what we need. So I am thankful and I am appreciative of our staff coming together and hearing the concerns of our community and council and the directions of, we want to see that action. And I feel that, by adding more opportunity for input, it can just make sure that this process is inclusive and it runs smooth, and hopefully is completely utilized, because that's essentially why we're putting that funding into that line item. Is there any other comments from council, or would somebody like to make a motion to have a work session at this time?
I had a couple of questions and suggestions. I know that I had sent over some suggestions that were given to me regarding loan applications as well for similar type projects. And so that was another aspect. I know, Elon, we had talked about that. You guys are well aware of what I'm talking about. So that's just another aspect of this whole program that I wanted us to look into. So certainly if we're going to have this discussion, we're going to decide to table it. I wanted us to look at that as a possible solution when this money is expended, or as another alternative to help them cover their share maybe. So that, and then I took some notes here. I was curious what you guys were thinking about how the money spent is tied to the terms of the ownership. Thinking about, say, the Silver King, and when we expended money there, the way that we receive those funds ties us to Silver King. How is this type of a program, if we're giving them grant money, is it going to tie them to the ownership of the building? And if they were to sell the building and somebody else were to reapply, say they only did $50,000 worth of the work, and then they came back with a new ownership and they reapply for the same program for other parts, is that essentially them being allowed to continue to use the program, even though it's the same building? So I guess I was curious about what that would look like. Also, like I said, there's concerns about the flipping the business into new owner and a new owner just to reapply to cover under additional items. And then also I was wondering what the ability was during the application process. So when they have the pre-approval, if we could automatically get them on the agenda for any type of design review boards that they might need, and also have consistent check-ins with them. So that way then when they pending their approval has been pre-approved, if you may, then it automatically puts them on the next agenda. And their submission guidelines, instead of being 3 weeks, maybe they have a shortened time frame before that review board, or maybe they can even bring them in at that point just to check in with them. And obviously if they're prepared beforehand, you can possibly get approved right away at that first agenda first meeting that you're on the agenda. So those are some things I was thinking through. Like I said, with the offer, if we can offer this type of a grant program, but then also put it in conjunction with a loan opportunity where we can offer it at a lower interest rate or lower criteria than a standard bank, where we are also helping the business owner finance the rest where they're not able to obtain that funding, I think overall we'd have a better program. Sorry, that was a lot.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Rodriguez, if I could address just one of the questions that you asked in regards to whether under this particular program, they could apply multiple times for a grant. The answer, the primary answer to that is that the applications are tied to the individual. So if it did change ownership, there would be opportunity for the next owner to apply for a grant. But with that in mind, these grants are to get a building to a C of O, certificate of occupancy, and to remedy the underlying code issues that the grant is based on. So with that in mind, if we had a flip of ownership, the building's brought to a C of O status, maybe has a business in it and they sell it, there's not likely going to be another code issue to bring up immediately for a new grant opportunity. So with that in mind, I can understand where you're going, where we're putting money, dollars after dollars after dollars into a singular building. But the cyclical part of that is it's a low probability that would happen based on codes.
Can I follow up to that? Sorry, just to clarify, I wasn't so concerned. Obviously, if they get their C of O, mission accomplished, that's what we want. My concern was more, or question rather, was if they say they do partial work, say that they just thought they had a firewall that they wanted to apply for. They didn't want to apply for the full scope of their job because they know that they couldn't, it wasn't financially feasible to take on the full scope of their job. If say they complete the firewall, they still wouldn't be able to apply for their C of O because there's other structural issues. They decide to sell their property as is, knowing that there's not a certificate of occupancy. 30 days later, they have a new owner. The new owner comes in for windows and other things. How is all of that going to play out? I guess I'm trying to look into the details of this to make sure that we have it very clearly outlined, so we don't feel that it's either too much on one side or not enough on the other, I guess.
Wonderful. That
Yes,
makes sense.
We have some comments in the crowd as well regarding that.
We'll have council go first though, because there's several of us that have comments as well. So for me, I have a couple issues and I realize that we're going to table this, but since we're going to go ahead, I'll just give you why I personally would not have went with this. I don't like this idea at all. My first major issue is that as a realtor, and I have a client who's looking at a building, I'm going to make sure that my client does their due diligence and that I'm going to do my due diligence and my fiduciary duty to my client and making sure that I know every aspect of that property that they're getting ready to buy. And I'm going to make sure that my client speaks with the departments that they need to speak with before they purchase that property to find out if it has a certificate of occupancy. If it doesn't, why does it not? And I'm going to make sure that before my client spends $50 or $500,000, that they know how much it's going to cost them to rehab this building. So for me, to go in and help people who purchased a building, not understanding how much it costs to rehab a historic building, I feel like they didn't do their due diligence. I feel like they didn't do their research on what they were purchasing. I would never buy a home without doing my research, without doing an inspection, without having a termite inspector. I would never do that. I, even in this market, do not allow my clients to waive appraisal or inspection. It's not going to happen, not with my clients. We will keep moving on until the right house comes because we are setting them up for failure. So that's my first issue. You brought up the awning. And the first thing that I think of is, do we not have insurance on our properties? I'm not going to help a business owner who doesn't have insurance on their property. We already had a fire of a building with no insurance on the property. And we already had to spend money from our tax dollars to go clean up that space. And now we've got to wait for that property to sell to get our money back. So I have issues like that. We have a gentleman sitting here who says nonprofits can apply. And then you're saying they can apply. So he said the church would not qualify. Why would the church not qualify? Why would he be under that impression?
So he brought up that he wouldn't qualify because the work has already been starting to be performed. And because it would be in next year's budget year, it would start on July 1st. And when the gentleman had spoke, he said that he would have waited 6 months to start the project if he knew that this type of program was going to be coming forward. I'm sorry.
Right. So
I just wanted to help.
for me, if they're working on the project, I don't care if they started 6 months ago or if they're going to start in 6 months. If they're working on the project and their project meets our parameters of what should be covered, they should be able to apply. Whether it's the church or it's the Quinn building or whatever, they should be able to apply because they are still bringing a building to code that if they sell it 2 days after they finish, they have brought value to our main street. So instead of restricting them, let's kind of try to be more inclusive of every business. I'm going to restrict, if you don't have insurance on your building, no, you can't come ask us for help. Get insurance on your building. And it's got to stay on your building the entire time because if you aren't willing to insure your building, you can't ask us for assistance. I mean, if you didn't do your due diligence before you purchased a building, is it really our responsibility as a town to help you now figure out how to cover the cost of this building? You should have known beforehand what it was, at least an idea of what it was going to cost. I mean, I realize there's hidden things in the wall that you might not see in flipping houses. That happens, but you always have that contingency in there. So I have that issue and there's other issues I have, but those are my two biggest issues with this project. My second question though, is that $200,000, is that coming from the money, is that taking the money that council had set aside for a special project for Main Street? And now we lose our special project and we are going to just do this? And then is the facade program being looped into this as well?
So this would be out of the $200,000 CIP budget. So if you're referring to that money as a special project, then yes, that is what we're suggesting be used. Secondarily, the facade program would continue forth as it stands. This program doesn't apply to non-code related issues. Facades, improvement of facades wouldn't fall under that. If you had, for example, the awning issue, structurally, the issues structurally with the awning could be included, but the beautification would not. So they would need to apply for the facade grant program if they were looking for.
So I guess that would make my third issue is that you are taking something that council had asked for as a special project budget. You are suggesting that we give up our special project budget to cover a wide range of things. And for me, when I thought of a special project budget, I thought of it being something completely different than going in and helping businesses fix their electrical. That's not my idea of what our special project should have been. But that's my opinion. And if we're going to move it to a work session, I'll hold the rest of it for then.
Well, that was the reason that I made my motion at the beginning, was to avoid this whole conversation because, we need to talk about this at a work session. I see Bonnie raising her hand back there, so we need to recognize her. We have the back row back there, the amen row, that those people are involved with our town. We need to get all these people together at a work session and we can rehash everything that we've gone through here tonight. You've all brought up excellent ideas, excellent questions, and and I think it may take more than one work session to get this all resolved. This could be one of our biggest projects that this town has ever faced, really.
I agree with you, John, and I would like to see everybody who has come forward this evening or have even sent emails, make sure that they are explicitly invited, as well as all of our business and community, to participate. This is an amazing opportunity that we have to continue and make a positive difference.
Mayor, I have one more question for you regarding putting it off to is it going to be put on a work session? It's going to be soon, because as we've just indicated, we have business owners in our community that are working on their projects actively or are anticipating starting projects. And I would hate for them to be relying or looking forward to this type of a project and have us sort of kicking it down the line. So what kind of date would we be looking at?
How about next Monday?
In regards to a date, let me ask our attorney a question. Cliff, understanding that the gentleman came forward earlier and, had made the comment, if I would have known, and none of us knew, to be honest with you, at that time, we had made the suggestions in the past, but to actually say the program was going to be implemented, anyways, neither here nor there. Is there anything that states going into this next budget year, starting July 1st, that we would not be able to go back to say, if you completed a project between this time frame and this time frame, you would be eligible for X amount of reimbursement expenses?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, the only thing I can think of is for Becky and our auditors to make sure that it fits within the parameters of the money spent in a certain fiscal year. So sometimes you can take some expenditures that are lagging on how they're being billed and close them out after July 1st, but it might get much more complicated. We just have to make sure we can do it and not be violating the parameters of our audit. Aside from the budget issues, I think as far as the timing, say there's a project that's pending within the fiscal year, I don't think there's anything that prohibits you from including that within your parameters. I think the primary thing is when we're on the cusp of work being done and then a new fiscal year starting, it makes it hard budget wise and satisfying our audit restrictions and our expenditure limitations to include that when it's on the cusp. But once you're squarely within the fiscal year, I think you can set your parameters for timing and eligibility however you choose.
All right, thank you so much for that.
Mayor, if I could, Before you go on, just real quick, Bonnie Barriola is here and she's had her hand up for a little while, but she's also signed up to do the last call to public. So I wanted to let you know that she was wanting to speak, but
Perfect.
let you decide when to call on her.
Okay, thank you. I'll call on her in a moment. Hang on one second. To go back to Councilmember Rodriguez's comment, I agree with you. It is important to do this in a timely manner and to have the work session in a timely manner. I'm willing to coordinate through Lisa Garcia with the rest of our council. We can have meetings, as everybody is aware, within 24 hours notice to our community. I would like us to at least give 1 week notice. So this way our community knows that the meeting is going to be held so they can make arrangements. Typically, our work sessions are held on the second and fourth Mondays of every month. However, again, if we decide that we want to meet prior to that, we can definitely meet prior to that, and I'm fully supportive of that. I understand Ms. Barriola is here this evening. Ms. Barriola, would you like to come up and speak into the record as well? Because I did reference your email earlier, and if you had anything else that you wanted to add, I definitely wanted to give that up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Bonnie Barriola, 21, oh, this is not, well, anyway, 2149 West Shan Drive, Chandler. In answer to one of the questions that one of the council members have, I have studied this since it was published last Friday, and I have a lot of questions, so I would appreciate being involved in the work session. As the mayor said, I have written and implemented many grants, and I would just appreciate being involved in the preparation of, like I have all of these tabs. But one of the questions in answer to that, it says, on completion of the project, the property must meet all Town of Florence building safety codes that were in effect at the time of the application. So I'm assuming that you can't have a partial part of a project. It has to be a complete project. And there also is a statement in here that says they do have to have liability insurance. But I have a lot more input that I would like to bring up if you do have a meeting. And I agree with Vice Mayor Cordes in what she said about these people buying a building. I know I was downtown one day and people were in the white apartments, and being kind of pushy, I stopped and went over and asked them why they were doing, they planning to buy the building. And the first thing that one gentleman asked me was I a realtor? And I says, no, I'm just very familiar with this property. And the gentleman, the customer, did everything that Vice Mayor said. I went with him over to Town Hall, and he asked all of the essential information. What is the planner's name, her name? Yeah, Marcella was there. Marcella did an excellent job. I stood back and didn't say anything because I already knew everything. But this gentleman asked Marcella. She did an excellent job in researching and answering every question they asked about the building and what had to be done. And since I had prepared a building condition assessment report on the building prior, I already knew what had to be done. And I talked to the gentleman about it, that she did an excellent job and explained to him what had to be done. He decided he wasn't going to buy the building because it would take too much money to put into it. So yes, you are correct that some people should do that. The next buyer of it did not do that. And so it sits because it's taking more money than he thought it would take. But again, I won't talk anymore. I'll go sit down. But I appreciate the opportunity to talk. One other thing I wanted to say is that Trenton Schaefer and his department are to be commended for the excellent job they have done during the past year and a half having the meetings available to the public via Zoom and many other ways. So the public should have been able to watch the meetings and participate if they wanted to. So they just did an excellent job. And again, I would love to be part of the work session. Thank you.
We would love to have you there. Thank you. All right, it sounds like at this time, we are ready to make a motion. When we make the motion to table it pending a work session, I would appreciate if we can make the motion that way. And then Ms. Garcia, will you begin reaching out to council to plan the earliest opportunity that we can have our council together?
Mayor Walter, since we do have a quorum of the council here, I would ask that we review our calendars and go over it right now. This meeting and the next meeting were very difficult to make sure that we had at least 4 people present. So we do have June 28th, July 12th, July 26th, and August 9th available. And those are all Mondays.
I'm available every one of those.
20 sounds great.
I am too.
The 28th of June.
28th of June.
I will be in St. Croix. I'm leaving here in just as soon as I can leave this building.
Okay.
And I will not be here. You said July
12th.
12th, I'd be at my aunt's funeral.
Okay. We can do an off Monday where we can work on it. I'll call everyone and I'll get
I'll
everyone.
be here though between July 1st and like July 8th.
Oh, see, I'm gone. Yeah, I'm gonna be gone that weekend.
So, yeah.
That whole.
It's gonna be tough.
You have mine. I'm gonna be out.
Yeah, we will work on it. I feel for the property owners and I understand council wants to get this project on the street as fast as possible. I'll work with council and bring it back as quickly as we can. We do have the work session already set for August 9th for the annexations. If no one's available prior to that, if the entire council's not available prior, or we do have a full council on July 19th. Maybe we can start the meeting super early and have that meeting. No,
I guess personally, I don't like kicking it out that far because if we have one work session, then we need to have another work session, then we need to bring it. You're talking 2-3 months before this would possibly hit the street.
is everyone comfortable with only a quorum of the council being present for the work session and not the full council?
Yes.
I'm comfortable with that, especially with the fact that technology allows us to call in. And if for some reason somebody's not able to call in, we could also share feedback or any suggestions written, and you can send that to myself and staff or council as a whole and staff. I do see the urgency in wanting to make sure that our business community, our owners that want to facilitate the work are heard, and we can do this in a timely manner.
We'll try. I'll send out a notification. We'll go with preferred dates and I'll get as many people in the room as I possibly can.
I'll just let you know now, if you pick the 28th, I will not call in because I will be on an island. And I do not have enough time to formulate my comments to even forward to you. So I would respectfully ask that we not pick the 28th. I understand the urgency, but when we go to something with urgency is when we make mistakes and when we rush. And then later we're sitting here going, oh, shoot, we forgot that one major important thing. Or, oh, shoot, we forgot to set this guideline to make sure that somebody who is not even an owner of the building got awarded money and didn't do what they were supposed to do with it. So I'm not a fan of rushing it that fast.
No, I'm happy to keep dates in July. And like I said, I will set out notifications. to all
I would
council
like to make a motion that we table this and that the town clerk coordinate when we can have a meeting,
Second.
work session.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Councilmember Neal, how are you this evening?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
When did you show up?
Hey.
We are on item 16 of our legislative update at this time.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, and aloha, Council Member Neal. we do have an update in terms of the legislature. As of 5 o'clock this evening, the legislature has put on the calendar to vote for the budget tomorrow. As we've seen in a few newspaper articles since last week, it appears that there is some movement in terms of holding the cities and towns across the state as harmless as possible, I believe is the language that's been used. I'll try not to get so wonky that it's crazy, but as of right now, since 1971, cities and towns have received 15% of all income tax revenue that the state collects. The proposal, as we've seen outlined in newspaper articles, is to shift that 15% to the cities, to shift that to 18%. So the cities would be getting a larger portion of the income tax. The proposal obviously includes a shrinking of the amount of income tax collected. And so effectively, we would be getting a larger portion of a smaller pot. And so when Jim Rounds conducted his economic assessment, he believed that cities would need about 18.5% to 18.9% to remain harmless, or to remain about at the same funding levels as today. So this doesn't quite get us to that point. That being said, it's certainly better than being held at 15%, where we would see $1 million less per year in funding for city and town operations, or specifically town of Florence operations. So we're anxious to see the amendments that get put on, specifically these bills tomorrow. I just looked a couple of minutes ago. They're still not loaded onto the legislature's website. So we will sit with bated breath tomorrow as both the House and Senate debate those budget bills and see exactly what those amendments say to ensure that we're held as harmless as possible. Again, I would be remiss if we didn't thank Representative Cook for his just tremendous support for cities and towns, in addition to other senators, and then Representative Senator Boyer out of Phoenix and Glendale has been phenomenal in ensuring that cities and towns remain as held harmless as possible. So we've really got some kudos and letters to write after the session concludes, which again is likely to happen this week. After they pass the budget, we expect them that they'll quickly close the legislative session. So lots happening tomorrow, Wednesday, likely close the legislative session this week, and we'll give a final legislative update at our next council meeting. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Council, are there any questions for Mr. Bitter? All right, I see no.
I have a question, because I also had a note to thank David Cook, but I would like to ask you if you would put all of our representative and state legislatures' email address on our website so everybody can write them, and thank them for the good job, or tell them what we want done.
Yeah, we could certainly do that, Councilmember Richardson.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Bitter. And our next item is our manager's report.
Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, I'll try to keep this brief tonight. First off, I hope you got to see the Type 3 engine that was parked out front. We've got it fully branded and ready to hit the street. You should see it on the streets in Anthem in July. So it's exciting to get a new piece of equipment and get that piece of equipment out being used. Secondarily, I think that everybody's aware, but we had our accreditation group here from the state regarding the ALEAP program last week. ALEAP is the Arizona Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. I had two gentlemen here for 2 days. And then feverishly working police officers for the following 48 hours. So I wanted to commend the chief, his staff, and everybody involved in that audit and all the work that went into that. It's an exciting process. The next step is the chief has to give a presentation to the board. And I think that's forthcoming in next month. So exciting thing. The last thing I wanted to do is to thank a group of folks. I sent out an email this morning, but I wanted to follow that up with a statement at tonight's council meeting. We ended up having a broken water line underneath the San Carlos Irrigation and Drainage District Canal inside of our sleeve under that improvement on Friday evening. And we had a number of folks that really came together and worked very hard under very difficult conditions to get a repair done in less than 24 hours. Of course, we had a number of staff folks at all levels that were involved in that effort. But of specific, I wanted to mention Ellison Mills Contracting, which is a contractor that has done a lot of work here in Florence. We didn't have all the equipment necessary to be able to do the repair. And we were able to get Ellison Mills out here almost immediately. They brought their own equipment. They brought their employees out and they assisted us in terms of that repair. The San Carlos Irrigation and Drainage District, as you know, it's difficult to get easements and approval to construct on other folks' property, let alone federal property. So the district went over and above to work with us and to allow us to go out there and do emergency repair in their right of way. Of course, all of our employees and the town team, Public Works Department, Utilities Division, and a whole lot of other folks that were involved in delivering water, going door to door, getting emergency contracts in order to facilitate that repair. And lastly, but not least, the folks that were out of water were county residents, not town residents. They were super understanding and very appreciative of the efforts of the town. I just want to thank them, each and every one, for being so understanding and working with us and being kind to our employees to get a very difficult project handled in a very short turnaround. That's all I had for my report.
Thank you very much. This is our second call to the public for this evening. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak at this time?
Mayor, we have Bonnie, but Bonnie, did you still want to do your call? Okay, she's not going to do it because she kind of did it when she was up talking a little bit ago.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody online that would like to speak at this time?
I do not see any raised hands at this time, Mayor.
All right, thank you so much. We'll go ahead and close our second call to the public. Item 19 is our call to the council for current events only. And Council Member Rodriguez.
I don't have anything too exciting today. I just wanted to thank everyone for showing up tonight. I know we had a lot of hot topic issues regarding both the logo as well as the signs and potential grant opportunities. And I just wanted to let you know, I value your opinion and I want to hear more. So I hope that this discussion continues on and that you guys do show up for the work session so we can continue that discussion. But yeah, otherwise, nothing too exciting. I hope everyone's staying safe and looking forward to the Freedom Fest that's right around the corner. I know that there's some big things planned and they're excited to host that downtown again. So I hope everyone comes out and gets a chance to check out some new restaurant downtown and great food, great business owners, and have a great festival.
Excellent, thank you. Councilmember Mendoza.
I just have one important thing, and that's the amount of people that showed up today. I thank you guys for being here because you make our job easier when we know that you guys think what we do is important for you guys. So thank you guys for showing up. We want to do our best for you guys. So I like to see it where this building is really packed and people in here talking about what they want. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Councilmember Anderson.
Yes, I've got, I guess, three different things. One, we've talked about doing, a customer survey and stuff like that, but I think it's time we do an employee survey to see what our employees think, how we're doing. I think we take them for granted. I'd like to find out from them how they think we're doing. So I would like to ask the town staff to put a survey together for that. Other thing is, with all the fire dangers that we're having now, I think we got pretty good clarification at the last meeting that the 404 wash is ours. And we need to do something about that. That's a tinder box that's ready to blow up. And if it does catch on fire, it's going to wipe out a lot of houses. Because those houses are right up against that wash, and the brush is right up against them. So I would like to see some kind of plan or proposal, or maybe we have to subcontract to get that all cleaned out of there. For some reason, Pulte's been pretty good about keeping the Sun City side cleaned out, but they haven't kept the park side. It hadn't been cleaned out in, I guess, 8-9 years. The last thing, I've had questions about this sidewalk being closed on Ruggles. And it's been closed for quite some time. I'd like to know how long has it been closed and when's it going to be fixed? So that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilmember Neal.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm sorry to get to the meeting late, but the airport is a little more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I honestly had a meeting earlier last week with some residents of Florence, and they were discussing some of the houses around Florence. And I know that I'm one that I don't believe anyone should tell anyone what to do with their property. If they're paying for it, a man's home is his home, but also we ain't got to be nasty. There are some houses around Florence that have been very bad for a long time. I know the lady said they were going to show up tonight and speak. I don't know if they did or not. I missed a lot, and I'm sorry for that. But I also talked to a couple of the people that were over. Oh, I can't think of his name right now, and that's bugging me. But he says he's got some plans in place, and we're going to start working with these ladies. And we don't just need to clean up downtown Florence. We need to clean up Florence, period. And some of these houses are horrible. Now, I don't believe in the HOA. Don't get me wrong, but some of these houses are horrible, and they really do need a swift kick in the behind to get something going, and we need to step up our efforts. Sorry for being late once again, but if y'all can see the view from my balcony here, you totally understand, even though I was on that little tiny plane all day, but you gotta, I don't know if y'all can see out there. Yeah, so me and my wife is ready to get out there. So y'all have a blessed day.
You too, council member. Beautiful view. Councilmember Hughes.
I have nothing. Everybody else has said most everything already.
Vice Mayor Cortez.
Councilmember Neal, I'll one up you from St. Croix here in about 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon is when I'll arrive there, leaving at midnight tonight. I would like for somebody, and I'm sure it's been done and I just can't find it in my stack of papers. I'd like a comparison of our property tax compared to other places, because I hear a lot how when I'm out working, how our tax compares to other areas and that we are much higher. Well, I don't live in Scottsdale, and I don't do a lot of work in Scottsdale, so I don't know what their tax is. So when people tell me that, I'm like, yeah, in general, Canal's a little bit higher, but compared to what I paid in Colorado, it is definitely not. So if I could just get something like that, because, I'm opposed to raising taxes. I don't agree with it. I don't want to do it in my area. I don't want to do it in Florence. But if I can have a comparison so I can kind of see where we are at with that, it would maybe make it settle better for me, because I had a panic attack tonight watching all these things. And then I completely blanked out and forgot I'm already on vacation mode, so I apologize. But other than that, thank you, everybody, for attending. I echo what Councilmember Mendoza said. It is so nice to show up and see people here, and it inspires us more when we have participants and people willing to stand up and speak. And echoing when I said, please get out of your house, get off your computer, show up and be active. And so tonight, all of you did that. And so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so I just have a few things this evening. And again, I apologize for needing to participate virtually tonight, but I wanted to make sure that I was here and able to participate. I'm home with a kiddo that ended up having a procedure done. I really appreciate the citizens that have reached out and attended this evening to communicate with us. It really speaks volumes, and I love seeing that engagement happen over the years. It has increased, and together we have been able to make a lot of amazing things happen, and we keep improving. So that is the key, our communication and working together. I want to say congratulations. We have another new business that has recently relocated on Main Street. And I understand they were so overwhelmed with customers that they sold out of food one day. It's a little Mexican restaurant. It's Grace's Place and located right on Main Street. And I just want to encourage everybody that if you haven't had an opportunity to go out and visit yet, go ahead and visit. Maybe have a nice ice cream afterwards at, Homebrew Saloon, or visit any of our other fine establishments. Our aquatic center has been steadily busy, as I mentioned earlier, between the swim lessons that are being offered. And I actually learned something new this week with the gym membership at our town facility that also enables you to participate in the lap swim for free at the local aquatic center. So there's just another benefit to being a member of the town gym and being able to use that aquatic center to continue to, become healthy and engaged in the community. In regards to Councilmember Neal, just to kind of add, I want to give a shout out because something that has been continually being addressed are some of the concerns with some of the properties throughout the community, or some upkeep that has needed to happen. One important factor to remember is when people are making progress, and this is something I learned and something that may have to come back to council if we want to change the order in which things are done. But if somebody is making due diligence and working towards addressing and correcting those items, then they basically start back at square one again. So if they go through and a concern is brought forward to them, they have an opportunity to correct it. If they don't correct it, then there's code enforcement. If they start correcting it and they're making those corrections, it starts back over again, as I understood from my conversations with them. If that's something that council wants to change, then maybe that's something we need to look at. I did notice through social media that there was some communication regarding some of those properties, and one of the posters had mentioned that they had sent in feedback through one of the forums that is with our town council. I asked our town staff to research that, and they didn't have any forms that were on file specific to that. They were using the older system. So I would like to request that town staff make it very clear and I know that we know where to find it, but I want it to be clear for our citizens when they see something and want to report something, how they do that. That should be very clear and obvious, maybe even front and center for a while, or a link on our front town page website that they can say, if there's an issue, click here. I noticed that in Queen Creek, they actually have banners that go across, and this is a little excessive in my opinion, but however, it helps spread the word because they recently partnered with See Click Fix, or John Anderson, Councilmember Anderson, you know what I'm talking about, the Click Fix.
Well, we have something on our webpage, and I've got a meeting with Trent, I guess, Wednesday to go over, our project because it has some bugs in it right now. But hopefully we can get that up and going.
Yes, I want to make sure that that's ironed out and that it's clearly communicated that this is where you go to, report something, and you can follow and track that process. So there's no questioning or needing to go back and revisit that. And in closing, we are really looking forward to the Freedom Fest that will occur on July 4th at Heritage Park. It will begin at noon. The Aquatic Center is open. Starting at 5 over at Heritage, there's going to be live music. There are 3 bands that will be playing. I don't believe that any of them have played on our Main Street before or at our Heritage Park events. There's a reggae band, an AC/DC tribute band, and a Pink Floyd band. And I understand that our pyrotechnics coordinator is working in a very special treat. So it should be an amazing free event in our town of Florence, and it'll be great to see everybody out and about participating. With that, that concludes our meeting this evening. And Councilmember Neal, I hope you have an amazing vacation, as well as you, Vice Mayor Cortez, and we will see you when you return. Have safe travels. With that, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign.